I don't know if the people in here know about all this stuff. So there's like a whole beef going on with Kendrick Lamar, Drake, uh, basically the OVO side. And it's all about how like Drake is screwing over everybody he's worked with, even his homies, all the people that have been there, like right beside him, aren't supporting him anymore because his whole thing is he hooks up with all his friends women like constantly.
Oh,
Like that's the big thing that they do. Like and Drake brags about it on songs. And can you imagine? Okay, can you imagine? You are in the club listening to a song, you having a good time, or you're in the car cruising on to work, and you hear a song, and every time you hear the song, you know that verse is about Drake screwing your girl. But that's Drake's big push. And then Kendrick came back basically saying that Drake was a pedophile because like he was texting Millie Bobby Brown about like boy advice and stuff like that whenever she was younger. And I don't know, all types of weird stuff.
I have
But
a question. How
yeah.
much of this do you think is so that they could both make a come up, like a quick come up? Do you think that this is real or for publicity?
So a lot of times it is a publicity stunt.
Right.
My thing with this is if it was for publicity, Kendrick wouldn't have gone so hard on Drake because he literally, like I said, he put out that he's a pedophile. That's serious. Like
That is
that's
that
big.
is that is making some serious accusations that can be very detrimental to someone's career.
Right.
Right.
Well, in Drake, I could see because Drake is still in the like big into the party lifestyle and like really being out there, being number one, being on top. Kendrick is not like that. Kendrick is married. He's a homebody. He doesn't get online all the time and like talk
Drake
about
has
people.
an inflated ego.
I mean, Drake is number one, even though Kendrick out has outsold him. That's the whole thing. Like they keep going back and forth. And so it's like it's Kendrick and fuck, who else was it? Metro Boomin. All types of people were getting in. Future was in on it, and Future, hell, in like Atlanta, Future's king. Future is number one in Atlanta. So it's all these people going after him, and then they thought like 21 Savage, who is Drake's guy, Lil Wayne, they thought all of them were gonna back Drake up, and Drake was just like he's being ghosted by everybody. It's fun to watch because there hasn't been good rap beefs like this for a long time.
The number one rap beefs I remember were from the 90s, baby.
Yeah, but well, shoot, the biggest one in history was Biggie and Tupac. This is about to get to the point where it's like that level.
Right.
But the everybody is kind of worried about because they're at least keeping it to music right now, and it's not turned into a whole thing where it's violent yet. But they've both talked about like having people go and start hitting the crews, and I guess somebody's security team. I think it was one of Drake's security teams at one of his houses got hit by a drive-by and they think that is Kendrick's people. So hopefully that is not a whole thing because that's not necessary.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
we already know where that leads.
yeah.
We know from years ago where that's going to go.
I think Kendrick has like a last round in the chamber where if Drake comes back, because Kendrick was the last one to make a song, if Drake comes back, everybody's kind of wondering if Kendrick's going to come back with the whole Drake being the reason that XXX got unalived because
Wow.
they think his people like called that hit out. It, which I don't know much about that. I looked into it a little bit, but I don't know a ton about that. And then all the P Diddy stuff, like that's
What do you think about that whole situation?
P Diddy. So okay, so for the people that don't know, P Diddy got hit with a whole bunch of, I think it was like three or four federal allegations of human trafficking of like abuse of all types of stuff.
Grooming young women.
Yep. And Cassie, his ex, she is, I believe she was the one that actually did the whole federal suits against him. So he was basically throughout his time being, this big shot, he was taking women, he was abusing them, he was beating them, he was forcing them to have sexual interactions with his partner Cassie and someone else, like a random person. He would throw parties that were like it, it basically making each other like you would show up for this party and
A
he'd be
free
like,
for all. Hey, a big free
yeah.
for all, a big pass, everyone around.
Well, and it would be these people he has weight on, like people that want a record deal, people that owe him favors, people that he has groomed, like you said, they would be at this party, and then other people would show up, and he'd be like, if you want this record deal, you gotta get with my homie, and like all types of stuff. So, and a lot of big people have been to Diddy parties, like a lot of big people. So I don't know if it was happening all the time per se, but it was happening a lot.
And I think more and more women and even men are going to eventually come out.
Yeah, because right now, three women and a dude came
Right.
out and said what happened. The last I saw, I think his sons got arrested at like two of his places. So they think that like literally he has people in a basement somewhere too, because the FBI literally raided a bunch of his properties.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy. That's what a lot of people were talking about though.
The money. Whenever you have money
Yes.
like that,
Yeah. Whenever you have money like that, you like there's almost nothing new to do. You
like
know
your
what I
morals
mean?
kind of just go right out the drain sometimes. You know what it is?
Right.
I think it's ego, money.
hmm
It
You
all
have
goes
you
hand in
have
hand with each other.
you have all that power and you can just
Power,
get bored.
control, money, ego, all of it.
Because you can only go on so many trips. You can only do so much to your house and
Hey,
until it gets
I'd like to
boring.
spend some of that money. Give me some of that money. Donate some. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's just crazy. And I mean, how many times recently has stuff like that came out?
Right.
That we just got done with the whole Epstein Island thing. So all these big shots are just doing the craziest shit, and now it's coming down on them.
You know, to me, and a lot lately, I've never realized how much somebody with an inflated ego is not a positive thing. That's a very negative quality to have. When your ego is so largely inflated that, like, you legitimately think that no matter what, you're above the law, you're above everyone else, you're above rules.
Ego is very bad to have. Confidence is good to have.
Right. Ego
Yeah.
is not good. Confidence is good to have. But when you think that you're above other people and you think that, your money and your power and all that are going to be used to control someone else,
And we had like just like you and I had talked about all the child stars like Justin Bieber, Selena
Britney
Gomez,
Spears,
Britney Spears, what's her name, Miley Cyrus, like all of them, JoJo Siwa, she's gone crazy. And
right?
it's all this stuff. Almost every single one of them has come out at some point and said we were being groomed into these stars, and to get ahead, we had to freaking do things with people that
Right. Like
touched
Justin
us.
Timberlake. I really believe that his
Mhm,
parents, I mean, Justin Bieber, sorry, his parents just like sold him for fame. Like,
mhm.
here you go. Turn a blind eye to certain things that they knew and heard was going on behind the scenes for some money.
Right, and it's all the mental health struggles
Right.
because you notice that you end up like they get into this life, right? And they end up starting all this stuff. It's a new experience. They've got the money, they've got everything. And while they're putting on this brave face, while they're doing all this stuff in front of people, in the background, they're miserable. So then
Right.
they finally hit a point where they break and they go crazy like Miley Cyrus did, like JoJo did, like Justin did. All of them had this stage
Brittany.
broke. Yeah. And then they finally pull out of it and it's like they have their big comeback. But why are they going through it's every single one is going through this giant phase for years where they're just like a mess because of what they went through.
It's not even worth the money to mess someone's head up like that.
It takes money to be comfortable, and comfortable can make you happy. You know what I mean? You don't need all the
Comfortable
money
can
in the
make me
world.
happy, I feel like,
Right.
because
You
I
don't
know
need
what
all
it's
the
like
money
to
in the world.
struggle. Because you know what? When you know what it's like to struggle, being comfortable is uncomfortable sometimes.
Hmm.
Because, like, even for me to be able to, like, pay bills and be responsible and do all the things, it still would be easier if things were cheaper and the money wasn't so tight all the time, you know?
Right. And I mean, we went through that being completely broke 24/7. I mean, literally the bills would be due up and we'd be like, "Okay, what do we need to pay and what is going to be late and we aren't going to pay and like what are we willing to lose so that we can pay rent this time?" Like
Right.
that is the
Like
shit.
you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right. And that's what it is whenever people say that like money doesn't buy happiness and all that. Yes, but you got to be financially stable enough otherwise
Right.
it's
Like
horrible.
this day and age, just with having kids, like for instance, I went to the grocery store yesterday before we went to the beach. I spent a lot of money yesterday, and then I was back at the grocery store this morning, and I probably spent about 800 bucks since yesterday. And
Ooh,
that's not even on
yeah.
bills. That's just for fun, food, and groceries. That's it. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's too
Right.
much.
Well, right. And then the other thing is like the kids they're not realizing that like I'm not going to be able to like if I keep doing this for you now, mommy ain't going to be able to do it for you when you really need it done.
Right.
You know, like we better start saving and watching now because they're only small now and everything's
Right.
getting so much more costly.
That's the thing though. They whenever they really need something, like what happens when somebody needs braces
Right.
or whatever, like and then oh your tooth hurts or your teeth are messed up and you want those fixed. Well, we spent all that money because you couldn't sit still and you wanted to go on vacation.
I'll be telling all my kids all your money's sitting at Target. Go collect it. Like the toy section, like I'm always in Target dropping money, but like it's not the way that it was years ago. Like I
No.
remember, like even the price of food. Penny and I were talking about this morning. It is freaking ridiculous.
I watched a thing that said I think it was the average cost of living to like be comfortable in Illinois was like 250,000 a year. Something like
Yo,
that.
I'm way under, bro.
Well, and I think Massachusetts was like 285 something and of course it depends what area you're in. That's gonna like, fluctuate a little bit, but that's a lot of freaking money. You know how few
Right,
people make that much?
right.
So,
Can I tell you, when I was down south more, I freaking loved it because the people down there, first of all, I think that you get paid less money. Like, so everything's cheaper down there. The cost of houses was cheaper. I would be able to make it down there. I would never be able to make it here where I currently live. I would never be able to afford to buy a house by myself. Not with the price that the houses cost
right.
and like what, right, it would be impossible.
Well, and that's the thing. Minimum wage is generally cheaper in the South.
Right,
Cost of living is a lot cheaper in the South. And it's just, I mean, if you get a job down there, you get paid from the state, anything happens, you're gonna drop down to like that amount of money, like what everybody else is making down there. So it's one
right.
of those. if you can build your money whenever you're in a more expensive state and like you're making it off that, if you can move to a cheaper state and have that money still built up, you'll actually like get somewhere. A lot of people used to do that. It's just it's harder now because it's that amount of money you have to have is crazy. Like you have to have 150,000 in the bank to be able to get somewhere even in the cheapest areas.
I never want to go back to that feeling of feeling like I can't provide for my kids or that I'm not going to be able to make ends meet. Like that was the worst feeling of, oh,
We want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Betty. Betty is an amazing person. She is a life coach and she does recovery life coaching. She works in a rehab center, so she's very familiar with the whole addiction and recovery and everything, the whole process of it. But she also does couples coaching. She does job coaching. She does all types of stuff. So if you are trying to just get further in your life and maybe you're having issues with like anxiety, depression, maybe your relationship is really struggling, you can always reach out to her. She has an awesome kind of thing going on with us right now where if you text her the code PodTox and your name, she'll get a hold of you and you get your first session for free. Now back to the show. Do you feel like, and please don't take this, and you know how we do, don't take this.
yeah, it's good.
You go to therapy a lot, and like the
Right.
kids go to therapy a lot, and you're doing like how many times a week do you go to therapy?
So I go to therapy twice a week. I do regular therapy and EMDR therapy, but they're two different therapists.
Okay, and then you were seeing you were talking to Betty too a little bit, so that was a little bit
Betty,
more.
right. So that's therapy. Betty's life coaching, so that's different.
Right, right,
Because
right.
life coaching is moving forward, therapy's working backwards.
Still mental
And
health type. Yeah, yeah.
oh, mental health appointments. So I
Yeah.
see my psychiatrist once a month.
Okay.
Sometimes I check in with her even more frequently. It depends on how she sees me. Like, I saw her a week ago and she was like, we're checking in next week
Okay.
because she didn't like the place that I was in.
Okay.
She was like, I'm concerned. I don't like the headspace that you seem to be in. Like, you got a lot on your plate right now. I just want to make sure that you don't go into like mania because you have so much going on without sleep. I feel like, as far as like mental health services, were you going to try to say that maybe it's too overwhelming?
No, so okay, so let's say you're just doing psychiatrist and two therapist, even if that's it. And then the kids, how often do they go?
So I'm just getting them in. I just did the intakes. So they'll be once a week therapy, but that's times
Okay.
four kids. So that's
Right,
four.
right.
So that's six therapy appointments a week just for me to get everyone to and taken care of. Because when they do therapy, because they're minors, I need to be present. I need to be listening, except for my son. Like I could trust him to walk away, but like my little ones, like I need to be there and engage with them.
Are you sure? Like, do you need to be there?
Well, the therapist, well, first of all, my trauma with DCF would never allow me to not be there.
Okay.
It would never allow me to have my
Sure.
children talking to a grown ass adult where they could switch things around without me hearing.
Sure. Well, and that's the thing. You think they're going to do that, which hopefully they
That's a
wouldn't.
problem with me. That's a me
Right.
thing.
Right.
But also with therapy, it's like I do want my kids to be able to, if they need to do therapy and say their own things without me being present, we'll eventually get to that place. But at first, as a
You need to
mother,
meet the people and
right, like
yeah, yeah.
I need to feel okay with my child talking to that person first.
Which I feel like that's fair. I mean,
Right.
regardless, that's fair. Yeah, that was kind of what I was going to say though. Like with all these, I do believe the kids need it 100%. It's with yours. Do you think you are doing too much? Because you always talk about the fact that you pour into your mental health and all that stuff, which is awesome. That is the goal, is pouring into your mental health a lot. But do you feel like you're pouring into your mental health so much that it has become your life so you can't actually practice having good mental health?
There's a balance to everything,
Mhm.
Kyle. And
Right.
you're right about that because lately I've been waking up with having these horrible, crippling panic attacks. Like where I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. Oh my God, I can't calm myself down. And it's like this feeling like I'm about to get bad news or I'm going to hear that somebody died or something. And
Right.
it sets me crazy. But I think a lot of the reason, and I talk to my therapist about this, is because I'm working on a lot of my past trauma right now in EMDR therapy. So
Sure.
subconsciously, I'm internalizing a lot of that. So it's giving me night terrors. Like I'm waking up having night terrors because I'm so focused on my past trauma right now.
Okay, so let me ask it a different way. Do you think because you're going a lot and focusing so much on your past traumas that it's stopping you from being able to move forward?
No,
No?
I think that it's helpful for me to move forward because they're my main support people. I
Sure.
have my TikTok family here for which I'm so grateful for. But also, the main people that I get my shit off to every week is
Is
my therapist.
mhm.
Without that, they've given me sound advice about everything, about my situations with Joe and
Mhm.
court and a lot of my daily stressors. They've given me solid advice. Like if I need a letter from a therapist, I know I got a letter. I like having some because I don't really have family that I have relationships with.
Right.
So I don't have people that are like, hey, Marie, how are you doing today?
Right. And have you ever really had that either? Like because
No,
even with Joe and everything, you want a certain type of support that I feel like he couldn't give. So it's yeah, I could see that because you haven't had friends are always good. I mean, I've talked to my friends. I used to use my friends all the time for like things to talk about when everything was going on, but it's a different connection. Like I feel like you either have to have somebody who really knows what's going on, like a therapist, or you have to have your other half who you work on everything with.
right. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my friends because, like, people like Penny, I bounce things off of you guys all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful because I would have never, I don't think, started to have some confidence in myself until I ripped the band aid off. Like, I really had to take that band aid, Kyle, and rip it off and make myself bleed in order to realize that, like, Marie, you can do these things that you think that you might not be able to do or accomplish.
I think you're showing that because even, I don't know, a year ago, how scared were you of doing everything that you've done over the past few months? I mean,
You
like,
know,
you were
I was
stuck.
just right, and I was just talking to a friend about this. Like yesterday, I went and I sat on the beach. It was the same beach that I have taken my kids to as they were growing up, and I can remember, like, I looked over and I seen a parent holding a newborn, and I can remember sitting on that same beach holding my kids when they were small. And it's like
Mhm.
time goes like that. And in that time, I was sitting there thinking, like, damn, Marie, you never thought you were going to be doing this alone one day.
Right.
Like, never did I think 5 years or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, I would have been doing this completely alone. But there's something rewarding to when you do it alone and you figure it out as you just figure it out. Like, I don't have a choice now. I just have to figure it out.
Do you think that is because that's always a big like scare whenever someone's in like a really bad relationship, maybe they're being physically abused or whatever. The one of the biggest things they say is, I can't do it alone. He has control of everything and blah blah blah. Yes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be extremely hard. But do you think no matter the situation that someone can get away?
I think so. You know what I was thinking about yesterday? One of the reasons why I don't like to drive is because for years, and especially during my recovery, I like after I lost my license and I didn't have a license for a while. And,
Mhm.
for years, I would always be like, I don't want to drive. Here's the keys. So I pretty much gave up my own freedom and allowed someone else to do it for me for
Right.
so long that it essentially crippled me. It made me feel like when it was time for me to be a big girl and drive, I don't know
You
what the
didn't
fuck
know
I'm
what to
doing,
do.
right? Like I don't even know, right? Because I couldn't figure it out because I lost the confidence within myself because somebody else was always doing it for me, making it easier for me.
I don't know, because I felt like I was in a very bad relationship with my ex. Like that was not a safe place. She was so hell bent on trying to have control of everything. It was just really bad all the time. I don't know if I ever gave up control though. And I was scared to leave too, but I was scared to leave because of Jax. That was my biggest thing. I didn't want to mess him up.
That was the reason why I feel like I stayed around so long too, because
Mhm.
I kept hearing, I came from a broken home. I don't want my children to come from a broken home. But a broken home sometimes is way healthier than a home where both parents don't love and respect each other.
I feel like my house would have been that way because my parents stayed together because of me, and they argued every single day,
Right.
every day, and it just like I wondered what it would be like if they split, and they had a little period, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, where they did split up for a little while. They were split up for like a year, year and a half, and I don't know. My mom, she's not really sane, so it's hard to tell what was going on with her, but like my dad was struggling and I felt like he was the one that actually wanted it more. So I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
It's a hard situation.
It's all just difficult. Breakups
Yes.
in general are difficult, especially when you have children involved.
Yeah, and at that point, obviously, I was grown, so I think they should have done something about it way before I was 18. But do you want to get into all the murder mystery stuff?
Right. Why don't we discuss the Micah Miller case?
I'm down. You want to talk about that one?
So, the Micah Miller case, her husband is a pastor, for those that might not follow this one. And she called in a 911 call to 911 saying that she was going to unalive herself and take her own life. Whether or not I truly believe that is different because I really pray that her family gets the justice that she deserves. But her husband seemed like a very toxic individual that has mentally and physically abused her over the years. Definitely a sick individual. And I don't think that she unalived herself, to be honest with you. That's my personal opinion, though.
So, what are the details with him? What did he do to her? Like,
He's been abusive, cheating on her over the years. He had a mistress while they were together. He was supposed to be with the mistress when um, she unalived, but then his own father came out to say he was not with the mistress. So, like, his alibi has been now
debunked, kind of.
right. So, his own father is believing that he had something to do with this.
So she knew about the mistress and the cheating and everything, though, correct?
Right.
And what happened whenever she did unalive herself? Like, what was the whole?
She was trying to leave him for a while. And a lot of times women that are in abusive situations like that, whether it's mental abuse or physical abuse, are so scared to they're just so scared to take that next step. I know myself, I didn't want to take that next step because I was scared of what was to come after that.
So she could have felt like she was in such a way and in such a bad place that she couldn't leave, and that was the only option. But I mean, that's what we were just talking about, though. Did she reach out to anyone beforehand?
First of all, this has a lot to do with a very powerful church and
Right.
also abuse within the church because she was She never felt good enough.
So was she afraid of leaving also because of the perception of everybody else? But
Yes, right there.
if that's the case though, and
Yes, more like a prop. Hitman, you said it perfectly. Like, she's like the first lady almost of like the church. That's like it's like a position of like
sure.
stature almost.
My thing is okay, and to get a little bit because I want to try and argue it so we can go over every kind of
Come on,
aspect.
Kyle, let's go.
Okay, so if that's the case, and the church was what was like, she had to secure her position, she had to look like she had it all together, so she couldn't leave her husband because then that would have looked bad on her. But then how does it look unaliving herself in the eyes of everyone and for her in the eyes of God?
Right.
Because that is a very big sin.
I think that when somebody gets to that level of feeling so stuck, they don't know where to turn. I know it feels like you're being suffocated, probably.
Sure.
Like you're literally alive, but you have no say in anything. The man controls the whole situation for you.
Which is common in especially a lot of like old school church realms
Right.
like that. That's super common. Okay. What do we know like what the murder scene looked like? Like what was
Also, I heard that there was another bullet. Can somebody correct me if I'm wrong? There was additional shell casings found around where her body was, which would make me think that if she did it to herself, why the extra shell casing?
she could have been just playing around with it. You know, if you're thinking about something like that, and Jasmine talks about this, you're thinking about something like that, maybe you fire it off a couple of times, see how it feels. Maybe you fire it off because you know you want to do it and you want to make sure that it's not going to jam on you, so you're making sure that it works properly. So fire off a few rounds, all right, everything's good, and then bam.
Sabrina said that they found one in a tree. The pew pew was 40 meters away from her in the lake.
So she was no longer alive, ended herself, and
Correct.
then the pew pew was in a lake 40 meters away. So did
The kickback off the gun. Is that what you're thinking? Like the
no,
force?
no, no, no. It's not going to go that far, no matter what. That would have to be a hell of a pew pew. Who found her?
I'm pretty sure that she was found because she called 911 and she gave her location, asked for her location to be tracked so that her family could find her body. And there's no
Okay,
movement in the lake at all.
and she didn't call her husband. No, not beforehand. Because the only other thing that I can think of,
Yeah, there was a man in the boat fishing that found her body.
oh, she was in the lake though.
No, I don't think she was in the lake. The her possessions and the gun, I think, were in the lake. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Got it.
I'm really thinking someone else was there.
So here's my thing. Because if the husband had found her and she did decide to do this, like what if she did decide to do this and it was her? The husband finds her. And again, because of perception from the church, what if he grabbed the pew pew and grabbed her stuff to make it not look like an unaliving, but then so he got rid of the stuff and then realized, oh shoot, now I'm implicated in this. You know what I mean? So he was trying to cover up tracks to keep his perception kind of good.
If somebody staged that, they freaking did a good job staging it because there somebody said that they even heard, and I've heard the 911 call. I'm pretty sure somebody was there the whole time that 911 call was made and everything.
And it wasn't the dude in the boat?
I think it was her husband. I'm sorry. You don't know though. You never know. I like how you're trying to see both sides and perspectives.
So you're saying that he was probably there, he was probably going to unalive her, probably had the the pew pew to her, and said, "You're going to call 911 and say I'm going to unalive myself." And then he just went ahead and did it. So he
Right.
forced her to do it. Okay. Well, so she might have done it herself, but because of him, right there.
Or, or if he didn't directly pull the trigger, he hired someone to do the job. There's a Ring doorbell footage. Has anybody seen the Ring doorbell footage? She had a tattoo like on her wrist that wasn't there in one of the Ring doorbell footages, and people were trying to say the images could have been reversed. Some people are saying that that was not her on the footage, that that was not her, and that that was staged footage.
Which would be very convincing. What was the Ring doorbell camera for, though? What does that lead to?
That I'm
Was
not.
was it like right before it happened, showing that like she was
It
interested?
was like supposedly like the last time she left the house or whatever.
I got you. Okay, okay. Huh.
Which, you know what, I gotta say, when people are looking at people's videos or things, it's crazy the things that like people on TikTok can point out, like investigators about everything.
Sabrina said even Micah's dad stated that the voice wasn't Micah's. Oh, thinks it's an AI.
A
So,
lot of people were saying that they thought that that was AI generated.
okay, which if it was AI generated, this was going on for a very long time because you have to have a decent background for a voice to make it like close to them. You know what I mean? You have to
Right,
have a lot of recording of this person so that the AI has something to reference. So that you can't just put that together in a day. You need like sound bites for days and days and days and days. So if this was AI, this was being planned for a long freaking time, probably
right,
like months.
right. And if he had a mistress already, I mean, think about it. And if the wife already was getting sick of the relationship, he'd probably seen it coming. So could have been
Why is she not calling him out in the church though? Like dude has a mistress and everything. Why not call him out?
fear.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch more because I only got to watch a couple of videos on it, and now I'm kind of intrigued because I like figuring that stuff out.
Right. I'd like to see what you come up with after watch some of Justin on TikTok's videos.
Okay, and I get it, Sabrina. Man, if you have someone controlling you, whether it's like at work, church, whatever, and you go into church while everybody's there, he's doing a big thing, doing a sermon, whatever the heck he's doing, and you just all of a sudden stop it and you say, by the way, you see this bruise, you see this.
Money, power, control. The
Mm-hmm.
thought of being ostracized from the church was probably a huge thing weighing on her mental health.
Well, and so he was threatening church members too if they left, then he was going to hurt them too. What? Like that?
Kyle, you need to go down. I'm telling you, there's a major rabbit hole with this case. This man is a sick and twisted individual.
Huh. Well, I wonder how much that happened because of COVID too. I wonder if he started threatening people because the church was going downhill. He couldn't support his lifestyle and keep up his image if the church went downhill. Because I know a couple of churches that had to close because people stopped showing up because of
Right.
COVID.
And like that church is all on like the tithings and like they want 10% of your income or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
That's what the church wants back in return for a lot of these churches. Like they want you to give back 10% of what you bring in. So it's money. Money.
I mean, I guess I get it. I have never been a very big like structural religious person. So not really super big into church. I was Methodist back in the day. Again, I won't really talk about my own beliefs on here now because
Sabrina even said now the FBI is involved, which they are because of the money with the church. This is Kyle, this goes way bigger than just a woman that got sick of her husband and needed to unalive herself.
Right. Well, if he was doing some sort of embezzlement crap and like who knows what the heck he was
Right,
doing.
Penny. I'm the same way as you. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious either.
The other thing we're going to talk about is all the tornadoes, homie. If you guys have not watched all the tornado videos over the last month, it is crazy. There's been like four big ones. And it's just like I watched a video probably like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and there's like a giant ass store, kind of like a Walmart. And the tornado, it was that one that was really, really big, like the biggest one recorded or whatever, and it just tears through the damn store. The store is gone. Back whenever I was like 17, 18, I was driving and was kind of like right next to a Walmart, and it's right in a cornfield, kind of. So I'm driving. It's raining so hard I can't see anything. Like weather is bad, bad. And then I start hearing the sirens go off, and I'm like, "Oh shit! I can't see anything. There could be a tornado right by me. I wouldn't know." So I go down the road a little bit, pull into a Walmart, and I'm like, "I think it's safe." But if it was something like that, apparently not. Is
Wow.
because Walmart, schools, especially schools are kind of built so nothing's gonna happen. But that shit's not safe anymore. You aren't even in tornado area
You
though.
know what scares me? I You have to be able to recognize when things are real and when things are AI generated videos sometimes.
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy ass AI generated tornado videos that
Yeah.
people were trying to make looked real, but when it's the real deal, that is scary. My heart breaks for anybody that's ever been in a situation like that because I have a friend here who was in a situation where they have severe PTSD now because of being stuck in a situation with extreme weather like that.
Which I've only had, I don't know, I've only had two times where it was really, really close. And one was I was at my buddy's house in a different town, and like we were all chilling. We had to run to the neighbor's house because they had a basement, and my dad and his best friend were like next door, but a tornado literally touched down in the street in front of us, and like we had just got into the basement and it started like ripping things apart, but it didn't last that long, so it wasn't that crazy. um and then the only other time I've ever been in like a really bad one was it wasn't a tornado. We were driving to Des Moines, Iowa, and I was with three of my buddies. We were all just cruising down the road. Rain was really bad. You couldn't really see anything. And then all of a sudden, it just clears up like it's nothing. And we're like, damn, that was kind of weird. And then it starts raining lightning. Like I'm serious. Every half a second there was a bolt just
Right.
everywhere. The truck next to us, the semi truck got hit next to us. Our car got hit. It was hitting all over the road, and the only place we had to pull into was a gas station where like we legit, if it would have hit wrong, we would all died. But yeah, it was that shit was insane. I've never seen anything like that before.
I remember being in Florida when I was younger and it was like tornado season and it was pretty like trees blowing around, but like nothing crazy.
All right, the kids are losing it. We love you all. Thank you guys for
Bye,
coming in
guys.
today.
Thank you all.